So today I'm going to be doing the much renowned MidYear Book Tag, MidYear check-in tag. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but this is the most organization I've done for a video so far. So it took me a second to gather all the books. There's a ginormous stack next to me that you just can't see. There's also a stack over here, a stack below the camera. I'm surrounded basically. If you haven't heard of it, the MidYear Book Tag is just kind of a check-in halfway through the year to see thoughts on what you've read and books that might be coming up the second half of the year. So since it's going to be a long one, I might as well get into it. Before I do though, I was going to do a very quick little haul because I did receive 2 books in the mail recently. Two special editions, so I'll show you them real quick. The first one is Heather Fawcett's Emily Wilde Map of the Other Lands. This is the sequel to Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, which was the first book. This is the Fairy Loot edition. So it has the UK cover plus a couple special foiling, I think, and some sprayed pages. It's a very pretty book. I have not read this series yet, but I have read Another Duology by Another Duology by Heather Fawcett. It's actually behind me somewhere. It's, what is it called? Even the Darkest Stars. Even the Darkest Stars duology, yeah. It's about witches. It's set in a very northern wintry area. It's a great duology. I loved it. But I know this is the sort of the series she's now known for, so I'm very excited to get to it since I loved her first series. So just got the second book in. See if there's anything else to show you. There is, oh yeah, I forgot. Just like the first book, there is a very beautiful naked cover. I think the first book is purple, but it has a similar design to this. And the back says, "And fairy are things that lie beyond the limits of human understanding." And I think there's also art. I just know I'm going to love this series, so I was very excited to get this. And then the second book I got in the mail, actually one second, I brought my Baja Blast in here for hydration. I'm personally someone who does not like mouth sounds, so I will try to spare you from as much of that as possible. But okay, yeah. The second book that I got in the mail, it's very exciting. It's the Fairy Loot edition of The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden. If y'all didn't know, the Winter Night trilogy by her, starting with The Bear and the Nightingale, is one of my favorite series of all time. It's my 3rd favorite series of all time. And I read this book earlier this year. I think it came out February, maybe? It's set in World War I, and it follows a brother and a sister and a devil that exists on the battlefield. It's so good. It's so beautiful and so sad. But I loved it, and of course gave it 5 stars. In my eyes, Catherine Arden can do no wrong. But yeah, this is the Fairy Loot edition. It's blurbed by Diana Gabaldon, who wrote, I think, Outlander, and Naomi Novik, who is another author I like. And I think there's a couple book boxes that did a special edition for this book. I think Owl Crate was one, maybe Illuma Crate, I don't know, but this is my favorite book box edition. It's signed and it has these end papers. It's nothing too fancy, but I just love the cover. The violin plays a really big part in the book, so love this cover. Okay, and so that is that's just the quick book haul in the beginning. 5 minutes in, it's time to get to the tag. So the first question, I have it on my laptop over here. You can't see it, but if you see me glancing over there, that's why. The first question is the best book you've read so far in 2023. And of course I had an answer for this right off the bat. I don't talk about it a lot because this is my very favorite series of all time, or this is a continuation of my very favorite series of all time, but it's The Sunshine Court by Nora Sakavic. This is the new series following All for the Game, her first series with the Foxhole Court. This follows Jeremy and John from that series, as well as some other characters. And this was immediately 5 stars. This series is very, very close to my heart. I don't really like to talk about it in front of other people because I gatekeep it like crazy. But if you get it, you get it. Yeah, Sunshine Court, 5 stars, automatically. It was amazing, and I'm so excited for the second book. Next is the best sequel you've read so far in 2023. And I don't have it on me right now, but it's The Merciless Ones by Namina Forna. The first book is The Gilded Ones, and I just thought The Merciless Ones was like, it kind of expanded the world a lot. I liked the first book, but I loved the second book even more. And I think the third book's already out. It's called The Eternal Ones, and I just haven't gotten it yet. I don't know what it is. Sometimes, like when there's a last book, I kind of put off finishing it because I don't want it to be over. So, yeah, The Merciless Ones by Namina Forna. It's an excellent young adult fantasy. Highly recommend. And then the next question is new release you haven't read yet, but want to. And I do have a couple for this. And I brought them all next to me. So I wouldn't say this is a super new release, but it's a newer release, and it's called Where the Dark Stands Still by A.B. Pornick. I've actually heard a lot of people talk about this. I've had my eye on it for a long time. I pre-ordered it earlier this year. I just know it's a forest fantasy, and the art is absolutely stunning. This is the Barnes & Noble edition. It's so pretty. Like, this is just looks like something that I'd really like. I believe it is a young adult fantasy. Yeah, so there's this edition. And then there is also, one second, I also pre-ordered the Waterstones. I think this is the Waterstones special edition. So this is the UK cover, which is also really pretty. The blurb says, a cursed forest, a twisted bargain, a love eternal. So. And it's blurbed by Sarah Underwood at the top. And it has these purple sprayed pages with like branches going up and down. On the back it says, once upon a time in a forest of tangled secrets, a wild girl and a broken boy fell in love. Which that's really all you need to say for me to be like interested, so yeah. So that's one series slash book that I'm looking forward to. I'm not sure if it's a standalone or a series. It might be a standalone. Another one that I'm looking forward to is To Gaze Upon Wicked Gods by Molly Chang. I've had this one for a bit now. I've definitely shown it before. but this premise just sounds really, really good. I've heard a lot about it. I've heard like the relationship in it is really interesting and like complicated. So if I hear that, then like I normally want to read it. So yeah, definitely want to get to this. This is the Illumicrate, I think, edition. I'm trying to go through these a little faster because I did pick a few and I need to get through them. Another book I want to get to that is a sort of recent release is Where Sleeping Girls Lie by Ferida Abike Imide. I read her first book, Ace of Spades, 2 years ago, and it was so good. Ace of Spades is an excellent like dark academia book. If you haven't read it yet, I highly recommend it. I think I gave it 4.4 stars or 4.5 stars. I can't remember, but it was so good. And this is her sequel novel. I think this is also dark academia. I'm not exactly sure. I kind of want to go into it not knowing a lot. She's such a good writer. I'm very, 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 very excited for this book. So that's another one that I'm hoping to get to. That's a recent release. And next, another book I'm excited to get to is The Tainted Cup. This is the last one for this question, so I won't overwhelm you too much, but yeah, The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. I have another series by this author. What is it called? Foundry Side, I think, is the first book. I'm also really excited to get to. I just picked this one because it's a recent release and it sounds really good. I love the cover. I don't know exactly what it's about. Again, I kind of want to go into it not knowing a lot. It's an adult fantasy. So, and again, Robert Jackson Bennett is an author that Reagan from Peruse Project really likes. Has sung a lot of praises about, so I'm just very excited to get to his stuff. So, yep. So that is all the books for that question. The new releases that you haven't read yet but want to. Now on to the next question. It says, most anticipated release for the second half of 2023. Okay, I also wrote quite a few for this one, so bear with me. So obviously, since I don't have these, they'll just be like images on the screen, hopefully. But probably the top release that I'm excited for the second half of this year is A Dark and Drowning Tide by Alison Saft. I've read a couple of this author's other books, A Far Wilder Magic, A Fragile Enchantment. She also has another one called Down Comes the Night, but I haven't read that one yet. I own it, but I just haven't read it. But A Dark and Drowning Tide is about it's a sapphic fantasy romance with academic rivals to lovers. And the cover is stunning. If hopefully I have it on screen, you can see it. It's so pretty. The premise sounds so good. Like, I feel like I don't usually see sapphic fantasy romance, especially with academic, like that just particular premise I don't usually see with sapphic romance. So I'm very, very excited to get to it. The cover is beautiful. I'm probably showing the US cover, but the UK cover is also really pretty. I still prefer the US one, but. And the next book I'm looking forward to is Air by Saba Tahir. I love the Ember and the Ashes quartet. I've read them all. It's one of my favorite series, definitely in my top 10 somewhere. It's so good. I'm not sure if Air, which is her newest fantasy release coming up, is part of that world or not. I believe so. I think I read somewhere that it is part of the same world, but just like different characters, different time. All I know about it is that it's about an orphan, an outcast, a prince, and a killer who will bring an empire to its knees. So that sounds really good. If you haven't read An Ember in the Ashes, I think it's one of the most underrated fantasy series. I mean, I know it gets a lot of love, but I think personally it should get more. It did break my heart. I will say the fourth book hurt me in a way that I've never recovered from. So do be prepared for that. But yeah, it's so good. And then another anticipated release for the second half of the year is Immortal Dark by Tigist Girma. Hopefully I'm saying that right. And it is a dark academia fantasy with a cast of all Black vampires. And I am just on my vampire kick personally. As I previously talked about, I'm very much obsessed with Interview with a Vampire right now, and so this just like I feel like will help soothe the pain of the season being over. So yeah, I'm very, very excited for this book. The cover is also just stunning, and I think the first print, the first printing has sprayed pages on it, and they're really pretty too. I'm just very excited for this, like a dark academia vampire book. Yes. And then another book I'm excited for is, I think it's the start of a new series by Andrea Stewart. And Andrea Stewart wrote the Bone Shards Daughter series, or trilogy. I own them. I have not read them yet. I've heard it's like a sapphic fantasy trilogy. The covers are really pretty. I haven't read them yet, but I'm still excited for this new release. So yeah, like I said, it's the start of a new series, like set in a new world. And all I know is that in this world, gemstones can grant certain individuals power. And so it's filled with a lot of power struggles. There's battles between different gods. So yeah, definitely an adult fantasy that just looks really good and I'm excited for. Another series, sorry, I really piled them on, but another book I'm really looking forward to is The Enchanted Lies of Celeste Artois, I think is how you would say that, by Ryan Groudon. So Ryan Groudon was the author of the Wolf by Wolf duology. It's a historical World War II young adult series that I have read, and I liked quite a lot. It's about like a sort of a race where this girl who can shift into looking like different people enters to try to kill Hitler. It was very good. I loved it. And I haven't read anything from her since. So this is like a new fantasy that's coming out. Different world, obviously. It's described as a lush, lyrical, historical fantasy set in 1900s Paris. And again, not to bring everything back to Interview with a Vampire, but some of that story takes place in Paris. So I'm very much in my historical Paris moment. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this book a lot. And then let's see, another book. This is the last book I mentioned. Another anticipated release for the second half of the year is Sorcery and Small Magics by Mega Ducey, I think is how you would say their name. And all I know is that this is #1 in a new series, and it's queer, and it follows sorcerers and magic forests. And so, like, when you put all of my favorite elements together, obviously I'm going to be very excited for it. So, yeah. I've not read anything by that author. The premise and the beautiful cover just caught my attention. So, okay, so that's that question. Moving on. See, the biggest disappointment. So for me, the biggest disappointment this year was The Last Sun by K.D. Edwards. I had bought special editions of these books. I had heard such good things. I was just really excited for it. And then I started to read the first book, and I just couldn't get into the writing. I do like books with some... I don't dislike humor, I guess, in my books, but for some reason, like, the humor in this book was just not my type of humor. And I couldn't get into it. I really tried. I mean, I had bought special editions of them and everything. Usually that works out well for me, but every once in a while I'll place my money on a book series that I think I'll love, and it just doesn't pan out, and that's what happened here. So yeah, I did sell these back to my local bookstore. So yeah, that's that question. And then the next one is the biggest surprise. I didn't really have much of what I would call a surprise exactly, but I hadn't really been reading a lot of contemporary, and especially I had heard of Emily Henry's new like adult books for a while, and they just didn't interest me that much. I had tried to read Beach Read by this author, and I just couldn't get into, like, I gave it, I think, like a 3-star. Like, it was okay, but I didn't think it was anything worth the attention that it was getting. But then the premise of this book, Funny Story, just sounded really funny and caught my attention. And then Reagan from Proofs Project again read this and really liked it, so I was like, you know what, I'll give it a try, because she had also read Beach Read and thought it was okay, so I was like, maybe I will feel the same. And so I read this recently, and I ended up loving it. It was such a fun contemporary read. I would even reread it, so I guess you would call that a surprise. I definitely wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did, so yeah, I did enjoy Funny Story. I'd be curious if any of you have read Emily Henry and what you think of her books. I feel like everyone I talk to has like a different favorite. Like, some people love Beach Read, some people prefer People We Meet on Vacation, people, especially Happy Story, or is it Happy Story? Happy Place. Like, some people love that book, some people hate it. So I'm always like very curious to know people's opinions. But that's also kind of made it hard for me to guess which books I'll like. But I did love this book, Funny Story, so that was definitely a happy win for me. And then the next question is new favorite author. I don't know about favorite. I'm very stingy with my favorite authors. There's only a couple. But an author that I now would read more books from is Simon Jimenez, who wrote The Spear Cuts Through Water. I listened to this on audiobook, and I absolutely loved it. I think this is a masterpiece. The layers of storytelling, the like sort of commentary and exploration of like layers of storytelling and the oral tradition was just so mind-bogglingly impressive when I read this book, or listened to this book. I would say it's a really good book to listen to on audiobook, because I feel like the setup lends itself well to that medium. So yeah, this was an excellent adult fantasy that I still think about. I've never read anything like it before, and I would definitely read more books by Simon Jimenez. I know he has another one out, something about just like a bird on the cover, maybe cranes. I don't remember what the title is. The Vanished Birds, something like that. I would definitely read, because I would love to read more of this author's work. So, and this is a rare paperback that I own. I'm usually a hardcover person, but yeah, really enjoyed this. Maybe not a new favorite author, but definitely a new author that I'm looking out for. So, the next question is newest fictional crush. I sort of have two answers for this, because I don't really have a lot of like book fictional crushes, I would say. But my newest fictional crush in terms of what I've been watching is Armand from Interview with a Vampire, specifically specifically the show, played by Asad Zaman. The actor who plays Armand just like is such a beautiful person that like I'm kind of obsessed with his version of Armand. But that's not really a book answer. I have read this book, but it's been a long time, and I wouldn't say I would feel the same about the book character. So, in terms of book characters, my, I guess, newest fictional crush would be Painter from Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. I really loved his character. I thought he was just such like for being in a fantasy world, he felt so like relatable. And I was just really rooting for him the whole time. I don't know if that amounts to a crush, but I just loved his character, so. This is by Brandon Sanderson. It's one of his secret projects, and I really like the story. Oh, Painter really goes through it. They both do, actually. So. The next question is newest favorite character. I would say my newest favorite character is Zeno from Cloud Cuckoo Land. He's one of the handful of characters that we follow in this book. In the present day, he's an elderly man. He's like in his, I think, 70s or 80s. But we get through flashbacks. We get his life growing up in Idaho and having to fight in the Korean War. And he just had such a soft soul, and I loved him dearly. So, yeah. I liked a lot of the characters in this book. Zeno, in particularly, just, had my whole heart and soul. Ugh. So, yeah. Let's put this over here. The next question is, book that made you cry? And for that, I'm going back to this book. I tried not to do repeat books for a lot of these questions, but I did end up a few, but hopefully not too much. But yeah, book that made me cry, The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden. I don't think I physically cried, but I got closest to crying with this book. It was very sad. Not saying it didn't have a happy ending, but just what the characters go through in this. I mean, it's set in World War I. Just left me with a melancholia for the next month or two. But again, I would still give this book 5 stars. I'm someone who's sort of drawn to sad books, so that's not a negative for me. Yeah. Like I said, you follow a brother and a sister in this book. Both of their perspectives during World War I. The brother is overseas fighting, and the sister goes over to find out what's happened to him once she doesn't hear back from him in a while. It's a very crude way of describing this book, but it's really, really good. And it has some fantasy elements to it that I thought were done so well. So yeah. On the other hand, the next question is book that made you happy. And again, this is another repeat, but Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. This was just such a fun book. I would say it's pretty different from other books that Brandon Sanderson has written. I would say it's the most, not that I've read a lot of them, but it's probably the most romantic book that he's done. And their banter, Yumi and the painter, was just so funny. And them having to work together to kind of figure out why. So the premise is they're from 2 different planets, and they keep swapping into each other's body, and they don't know why. And they live very different lives, so there's just a very heartwarming and comedic element to this story. And it was just such a fun, happy read. Like, I loved this. So yeah, this is definitely a book that made me happy. And then the next question is an easy one. It's a favorite book to movie series adaptation that you've seen so far this year. You already know. I've already talked about this. This is no mystery. Interview with a Vampire. I think one of the best TV shows I've personally ever seen. It's so well done in every aspect. And I don't know what I'm going to do with myself until season 3. I don't know. Like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to live for? But jokes aside, the cast is so phenomenal. The writing is incredible. Like, everything about this series is so good. I feel like I could not wish for a better adaptation of this series. Again, I've only read the first book. I do plan to read The Vampire Lestat and Queen of the Damned, at least, before the next season. I've read parts of Queen of the Damned, but yeah, since season 3 is sort of going into the sequel, I definitely want to get reading that. So good. So good. Next book is Most Beautiful Book You Bought This Year. Next question. And I have to say, the most beautiful book I bought this year has to be Babel by R.F. Kuang. Specifically, this is the Subterranean Press edition of Babel, and it doesn't have sprayed pages or anything, but the art is just so pretty. I gasp every time I look at it. This is a book I also have not read. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about it online. I think a lot of people love this book. But yeah, I'm just obsessed with this art, and I can't wait to read it. Like, I'm really excited to read this book, but yeah, as far as most beautiful book I got this year, it has to be this. And then the last question, almost done. This light is like making me sweat. It's so hot. The last question is, what books do you really need to read by the end of this year? So I think I've talked about this before, but I'm really trying to get through all of my young adult books. I've already aged out of young adult, but like, I have a lot of older young adult series that I want to read while I can still appreciate them as much as possible, if that makes sense. So I brought an example. It's the Mara Dyer series. Yeah, the Mara Dyer series by Michelle Hodkin. This was like big back in the day. I've owned it for like forever. And I've almost gotten rid of it a few times, but like, I keep hearing people talk about like how it's one of their like favorite nostalgic series. And I remember when this book came out, and like they loved the relationship in it. So this is just like an example of like an older YA series. I have a few. I have The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. A couple books like that. The Winter's Curse by Marie Rutkowski. These are all like kind of older young adult series that I own that I've heard good things about. I just haven't read, and I want to read them before I age too far out of that demographic, if that makes sense. So that's really what I'm trying to get to by the end of this year. We'll see if it happens or not. But I'll keep you updated. So that is it. I'm just gonna hold up a few. Those are all the questions answered for the mid-year book tag. This took a long time to film, so hopefully this was somewhat entertaining. But I'd love to know some of your answers for these, or like if you have opinions on any of the books I've talked about, I'd love to hear your opinions. I'll try to list these questions in the description in case you want to use them for anything. And yeah, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And I hope you have a good day or night, wherever you are. And thanks for watching.